sir.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So now let's jump right into this conversation that has been on the lips of many Nigerians. Now, what exactly does the US mean by labeling Nigeria a country of particular concern? Let's start from there.
Yes. Um, the CPC, that is a country of particular concern, is a very important US policy.
Okay.
Of course, you can even say it's a part of US global foreign policy. That is it's a kind of a policy that was enacted in 1998, being used to checkmate the activities of religious institutions and countries that abide by religious virtues and values. And again, it is a policy that is meant to checkmate countries that violates religious freedom across the world. It was enacted in 1998. And again, it's again a policy that was meant to ensure that religious freedom is practiced across the world. So when nations are declared countries of particular concern, it shows that such nations don't abide by the practice of freedom of religion, meaning that such nations tolerate violation of religious practices, in that in these countries religious freedoms are not obliged, particularly that of Nigeria, that have just been declared a country of particular concern, in that the nation over the years, particularly in the democratic dispensation, has been facing a lot of a series of insecurity being orchestrated by non-state actors. And these non-state actors most fundamentally have targeted a series of religious groups, particularly in northern part of Nigeria. So when nations are declared countries of particular concern, it shows that such nations and its national government have not been able to live to the expectation of protecting different religious groups, particularly the so-called minority religious groups in their respective countries. And all these things have been going on in the Nigerian states. Of course, we cannot expunge the fact that there has been series of attacks by non-state actors that has affected many religious institutions in the country. And that appears to be a kind of a silence on the part of those that are supposed to protect their citizens. And all these things has been going on quite a while. And the citizens of Nigeria have been seeing what is going on. And again, the international communities have also equally been seeing what is going on. So the US have now come out of distress and concern that look, that this issue of attacks by non-state actors are not well addressed in the sense that they are not being put to a stop, or those that have been committing those atrocities are not being a kind of brought to justice in a transparent manner. And that was why the US have been able to now impose such policy on the Nigerian states. So the labeling Nigeria as a country of particular concern is a serious global security issue. It's a serious global security issue, knowing fully well that the US is one of the great powers in the world. For US to come out to label Nigeria's status is a serious cause for concern for the Nigerian state.
Okay, so now the US claims a situation of Christian genocide. Even though while you were speaking, we were talking about insecurity generally, non-state actors killing citizens and all of that. But the particular concern the US is talking about is Christian genocide. Now, does this status reflect the reality on ground, or is it politically motivated? Because I believe that all Nigerians will agree that Nigerians are being killed. But now the debate is Christians, Christian genocide. Is that the reality on ground? Or does the US have personal interest in this matter? Or both?
I would like to say that before the United States government will issue such a declaration, that they have a fundamental evidence of Christian genocide. Don't forget about the Owo incident in that happened.
Ondo State.
Yes, in Ondo State. Don't forget the Benue killings. Don't forget the Jos killings. You know, these are massive massacres that occurred on our very eye.
But mosques have been attacked as well. So why is nobody speaking up for the Muslims?
Yes, the US has just expressed concern over just a component of the ongoing situation in Nigeria. It's just a component that they have just expressed. You know, what if they now add that of the Muslim? You know, so I believe that the US declaration was provoked based on intelligent reports that have been gathered over the years. They didn't make such a declaration. Such a declaration was made in 2020.
Yes, so that's another question
December.
I was going to ask.
Yes.
Why is it back to back now? It has only been under the Trump administration.
Yes. It was declared in 2020, but it appears that the Nigerian government applied the instrument of diplomacy, and that was a kind of withdrawn under Joe Biden's administration. But now, the question is that ever since then, since Joe Biden administration, this situation have continued or have lingered in different dimensions. In that we now have the bandits, we now have the kidnappers, we don't have different multifaceted non-state activities that target different faiths in the country. You know. So that is why the US still expresses concern in that Nigeria is not still stable, despite the fact it was listed in 2020. And from 2020 till now, a series of killings and atrocities have taken place, you know, that warrant such a declaration, you know. And like I said before that declaration, I believe that a thorough investigation must have been conducted before it was done. Because I know that United States is one of the countries that has strong national interest in the country. Don't forget that it was this United States, in collaboration with Britain, that ensured that Nigeria was not disintegrated as from 1967 to 1970. They used their diplomatic prowess to ensure that Nigeria never disintegrated. So now, the same country that was delivered from the stronghold of disintegration and ensure that it becomes a one nation is still now being undergoing a lot of instability. But don't forget, and that is why sometimes we need historical analysis to back up most of the contemporary problems that we are facing in Nigeria. And you will discover that in President Trump's declaration on this CPC issue, he made mention of the activities of radical Islamic fundamentalists, the radical terrorists that are mostly the architect of these massacres. You know, this kind of radical Islamic fundamentalism has been rising up across Africa, across West Africa, and the US have continued to warn Nigeria about the invasion of these people since 1970. Since 1970, I have done a paper on the CIA intelligence report on leadership and development in Nigeria, 1970 to 1980. There is nothing different from what is going now from the warnings of the CIA and other global security institutions. You know, But it appears that there is a nonchalant attitude on the national government to put Nigerian state in order. And now you can see the manifestation of those things that were reported earlier on in the 1970s. Nigeria is now being engulfed with so many internal instability, never known ever since the post-Civil War era. Since post-Civil War era. So there are heavy evidences to back up the claims of most of these issues. In that you can, all of a sudden, people will be praying inside the church or a mosque, or a group of people, non-state actor will invade and kill people. I mean, what kind of description or are we going to give such incidences?
Okay. So now, when you consider the Nigerian government's response, the presidency's response, what do you have to say about it? Has it been diplomatic enough? Is it the right response, or you still have some criticism, or it was not properly handled?
I believe that the Nigerian states have not actually, the Nigerian government have not actually responded as it ought to be to the question.
Why do you say that? Because the Minister of Information, he was on international television, he was responding, President spokesperson, Special Advisor Daniel Bwala, people have responded, statements have been released by Bayo Onanuga, so...
First of all, it came to them as a surprise, because they thought that it was a diplomacy as usual. It came to them as a surprise. Okay. So they have to couple up questions. The real issue have not been addressed.
Okay, I think that they share different opinion. I won't want to say it came to them as a surprise. I think their opinion is that they acknowledge that there's insecurity. Yes. But it should not be limited to Christian genocide, because both Muslims and Christians are being killed.
Yes.
So Nigeria should not be painted as a nation that is religious, that has religious intolerance.
Well, they have responded as they ought to be, because it's a government. But they have to back up their response with evidence for the U.S. government to be convinced that nothing of such manner is happening.
So that's why the president is going to meet with the U.S. president as well?
Yes, he has to meet. No, even if the president did not meet Trump or he meets Trump, it is at this is a golden opportunity for Nigeria, the Nigerian state, to deploy their diplomatic instrument and back with strong evidence to dispute what is the U.S. government, the report of the United States government. The Nigerian government needs strong evidence to convey, because through diplomacy, it's not just talking about mere statement. We need your facts. It is fact that we are talking about here. We need your fact to prove that the report we have is in contrast distinction with that of yours. Already the government have responded, because it has to leverage himself from, because it's a global, let me not use this great, it's a global dent to the Nigerian state. And for that dent to be removed, there has to be a hard evidence to prove that such claims are unfounded.
Okay, so now, one of the things that the U.S. President has said is that deploying U.S. security personnel to come if the Nigerian government does not act appropriately. Is this a chance for us to get security assistance and military cooperation from the U.S., or it will bring a dent to the sovereignty of Nigeria?
I believe that when it comes to deploying U.S. troops to assist, while it is a kind of to assist Nigeria, in curbing the issue of this thing, I see a sense in that, because of the fact that the security issue that Nigeria is facing have gone beyond domestic. It's now regional.
Okay.
Regional in the sense that we now have different armed groups from various parts of Africa, North Africa and other, coming into Nigeria to join the groups on ground like Boko Haram to perpetrate all this mayhem. Don't forget the effect of Libya. Don't forget the effect of Sudan and in Mali. So you can see that statement of deploying U.S. troops to come and curtail, to come and engage the non-state actors in Nigeria, I view it from the perspective of regional interest.
So if it's regional, why does ECOWAS or the African Union not just do what they have to do and the U.S. troops stay where they?
Well, there appears to be a kind of weakness of
lack of political will.
The weaknesses and yes, of course, by the on the side of the regional organizations to engage these non-state actors, even though they have been trying, deploying series of initiatives like the multinational joint task force and all that to come and but the efforts are not still enough. They are not still enough, because the more they do that, the more they appear the non-state actors are still waxing stronger and stronger, So I believe that apart from deploying U.S. troops to Nigeria to engage the non-state actors, these non-state actors have enablers, the people that sustain them financially and otherwise.
So that's the issue of political will. So because, for example, we would want to believe that if U.S. troops come in, they will do that without fear or favor and won't care whose ox is God.
Yeah.
But if the Nigerian troops, which has been alleged that there's compromise in them, will they really nip this? Okay, I will not say nip in the bud because he has gone beyond that situation. Will they be able to bring the calm that is demanded? Meanwhile, let's also remember that recently the president did a rejig in the security architecture, change of service chiefs.
Yes.
So don't you think we should be a little bit patient to see what these new service chiefs have to offer? Now,
on the part of the U.S. is not thinking about the fact that we have service chiefs and all that. What they are looking at is beyond the domestic matter level. Even though they are concerned about the domestic component of it, they are equally concerned about the regional aspect of it. So they might intervene on the basis of on the basis of the regional level. While the Nigerian troops are playing their part, the U.S. can upgrade their invention, from regional angle, because wherever U.S. interest is threatened, the United States can do anything possible to curtail it. Because I believe by now, for them to have mentioned that statement, they have received series of reports that even the Boko Haram that they say that have been technically defeated are still waxing stronger. So you can see that there is a kind of regional security report, Nigeria included, because U.S. looked at everything on a wider perspective. It's not only within the Nigerian context.
So, in your opinion, do you think that the new service chiefs, it was a good move by the president? Was it a welcome development, in your opinion?
I think that, first of all, that this issue on ground is a serious, it's a call for it's a serious motivation for the service chiefs, the newly appointed service chief. It's a serious motivation for them to work hard. In fact, they now have something as a motivator to work hard in bringing the insecurity or the activities of non-state actors to a barest minimum. In fact, it's just like a launching pad to tell them, look, you have seen that your responsibility is the responsibility given to you is not a child's play, because the president have told them that, look, we need to see this matter to the ground zero. So it means that the president is not mixing words, giving this international implication, because the CPC designation to Nigeria is a serious international implication to the current security quagmire that Nigeria is facing currently.
So let's talk a little bit about what this labeling, this sanction could mean to Nigeria, how it can affect Nigeria generally as
Yes.
a nation and on the international in international relations.
Yes. Number one, domestically, it has already rekindled this negative perception that the Nigerian state is not fighting this war, because it's a war. You know, it's a war.
But the Nigerian
Number
government
two.
will tell you that Nigeria is not at war.
Yes. Let me tell you, it is not when we start carrying
Arms.
arms, just like the Nigerian Civil War experiment. But we are, even in our hearts as citizens of Nigeria, we know we are kind of we are at war, not within the Nigerian state, but with non-state actors, that attacks people, that kidnaps people. In fact, that kidnaps people that are now the chief executive officers of our different forests. I have written a paper titled "Forest as an Internal Security Theater." You understand now? I have written a paper on that. Forest as a theater of internal security operations in Nigeria. These non-state actors have taken the forest across the nation as their base, as their havens of operation. And that alone has implication to our economy, because our women can no longer to go to the farm and all that. So there are a lot of implications to the US designation economically, because it will continue to, it has kind of increased the bad perceptions of investors or industrialists that will come and invest in Nigeria. It's a bad signal to investors, because it's a signal to them that Nigeria is not safe for them to come and invest. You know, in terms of tourism too, people coming in to enjoy themselves in Nigeria, to explore the beauty of the nation, will not be afraid to come to Nigeria. In fact, let us talk about the security matter. Nigeria is now being placed on the red dot of the global security apparatus. That is what it means. You know.
So, what reforms are urgently needed to improve the situation? Because it doesn't tell well for the nation, for you and I, for our economy. What reforms are needed?
Reforms are needed. Transparency. Transparency is needed in the, particularly in handling the issues of financiers of terrorism. You know, because oftentimes names have been mentioned, but we have not seen a proper execution or punishment to these or individuals or organizations that finances the terrorism in Nigeria. So there has to be a strong transparency and accountability towards handling the issue of financiers of terrorism in the country. Again, it equally called for transparency in the handling in counter-insurgency operations in Nigeria. So there has to be more transparency within the military institution. You know, and now it is a reason for the Nigerian government to do everything possible to ensure that the military institutions are well equipped. In other words, there has to be an increase in political will on the part of the leaders to ensure that the Nigerian military or security agencies have all it takes to engage the non-state actors that are operating in the country. So simply, everything no longer has to be within a kind of confidential. Bring everything you have to the open. Let people know that this is how you handle the security situation in the country. You know.
So, especially on the internet, people call netizens. I've seen their responses. Most of them, they actually want the US to step in, to come and have this insecurity, to help put the insecurity under control. Now, this CPC, because people are also rejoicing about it, thank God and all of that, to make them, does it have an effect on the ordinary citizen?
Of course, it has an effect.
What kind of effect? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it both?
Well, I can say that the debate is divided too. The debate on the effect is divided because some people are on the opinion that nothing of such is happening in Nigeria, while others are saying that, look, that
No, but with US stands now that
Yeah.
it is happening in Nigeria, I'm saying, does this CPC designation affect the ordinary citizen?
yes, it affects the ordinary citizen because of the fact that it has already dented the nation's image. Don't forget that we are the image projectors of the Nigerian state. So in that anywhere you go now as a Nigerian, your country is now being designated. The attitude, the perception alone that will be accorded to Nigerian citizens even across the world will be different, compared to what we have before. Because it means that Nigeria have joined the league of North Korea. You understand now? That are violating religious freedom. You know what it means? Nigeria joining the league of Myanmar. Myanmar and all those.
But is
all
that
those
comparison?
hardline-
Is that comparison not too extreme?
But that is, look at in as of December 2023, those nations were equally designated as nations of concern. Nigeria have joined the list. Nigeria have joined the list. That is where we are now.
So what must happen? What does the Nigerian state, the Nigerian government, what do they need to do to remove this CPC tag?
Diplomacy, and
That's
hard
actions.
evidence. Hard evidence. One, diplomacy. There has to be diplomacy. Now, it is now that Nigerian government should develop strong diplomatic prowess and evidence. That is on the foreign policy level.
Okay.
We need diplomacy, strong diplomacy, to be able to debunk the claims. Then internally, there has to be now a strong security build-up on the part of the security institutions to contend against this monster that has continued to engage the Nigerian state for over years now. Since the 2009 till date, we have been facing the issue of non-state actors' activities across Nigeria. And again, the issue of arms proliferation in Nigeria has not equally been addressed, because we've seen arms coming in from different parts of the world into Nigeria. These are equally a serious national and global security issue. Another thing that is at the heart of this matter is the fact that indigenous communities in Nigeria are being invaded unnecessarily by the non-state actors. You could remember, as of last 2 weeks, the European Union was urging the Nigerian state to protect indigenous communities. So you see that indigenous communities are not safe, particularly in northern part of Nigeria, are not safe. So these are the issues. Even in part of the southeast, we've seen series of attacks. So these are the kind of ingredients that prompted the U.S. Designation of Nigeria as a CPC nation.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Oluchi Onyawa, a lecturer with the Department of History, Strategic and International Studies with the Dennis Osadebe University. Thank you for shedding light on and giving us insight on what the designation country of particular concern means, and also on the security implications, economic implication, and also on Nigeria's international relations. Thank you so much
for having
your time. And that's it on today's edition of the Morning Ride. On behalf of the production crew, it is I, Ogaga Ikama, thanking you so much for your time. Good morning.
Governor Sheriff once said, a modern Delta is not a dream, it is a vision we are actively bringing to life. When you hear of Governor Sheriff's trip to Brazil, to China, it is a testament of Governor Sheriff's commitment to bringing world-class standard infrastructural development to Delta State.
For the first time in the history of Delta State, I am seeing flyover constructions, this massive and in these numbers, being constructed at the central.
Hundreds of billions have been approved this year for flyover